Black Friday plugin deals. I waited to the very last minute to make this video so that I actually got the full list of plugins that I recommend purchasing for this year's Black Friday. I have all the categories timestamped for you, so you could skip to synths, keys, guitars, effects, so on and so forth. So here we're starting off with the V Collection 8 by Arturia, and this is something that I recommend almost every year. Right now it's 50% off, so you save 300 bucks. And the reason why I recommend this is because it's a huge collection of keyboards and synths, and it's a great way to get started right away. It also comes with this program called Analog Lab, and inside of Analog Lab, it's basically a preset player. And it's a collection of all the presets from all the individual instruments. There's over 10,000 presets in there, so it's a great way to just get started with high quality sounds without learning how to synthesize and program different sounds. But if you are more of a veteran or more akin to sound designing your own sounds, V Collection 8 comes with all the individual instruments for you to dive deeper into, which you could actually access through Analog Lab itself. It's pretty cool. So say you find a preset that you really like, you can actually jump in there and edit the full version of that synth right inside of Analog Lab. I'll have some links in the description below that link to videos that I've done covering Analog Lab and the different plugins that we go over today. Now, if you were going to get one plugin from the entire V collection, usually I would recommend Analog Lab, but it's not on sale this year. So unfortunately, that's not an option for this Black Friday list. But you do have Pigments III, which is their flagship synth. This synth isn't modeled after any old vintage gear. This is a brand new synth that is built from the ground up, and it sounds amazing. You absolutely can get vintage sounds out of it, but it's absolutely more of a modern synth with granular synthesis, wavetable synthesis, sampling. It does quite a bit. I'm definitely going to have more in-depth tutorials on Pigments 3 here in the near future, but again, I will have links in the description for videos that I've already done. And just like V Collection 8, this is on sale for half price, so you save 100 bucks. I recommended this last year as well, except I don't think that I recommended the complete bundle, just SubLab itself. But SubLab is a really quick plugin that allows you to make 808s and bass sounds really, really quick. And it comes with a huge library of 808s that have actually been used in record. And then you could go in and tweak those quite a bit and really make them your own. You can get all of the extra sample packs, Hits DNA Volume 2, Volume 3. It comes with Volume 1, so yeah, you can see right here it says meticulously recreated from tracks by DaBaby, Megan Thee Stallion, A$AP Ferg, and more. More down here, Travis Scott, Pierre Bourne, Rick Ross, so on and so forth. If you're someone that's looking into making your own 808s instead of the 808s that just come in the drum packs that you guys buy, this is a great way to make them from scratch. This next one is another bass plugin, but it's same price, and you do get extra packs just like with the other one. However, this is not geared towards making your own 808s or basses. This is more geared towards just picking a bass and going on with it. And you can increase some of the saturation, you can increase the attack, you could change the amp envelope, you can make it glide, and it's the right kind of glide. It's not portamento, it's actually legato, which I covered in my SubLab video. Again, links in the description below to watch any videos that I've actually covered. I haven't done a video on this one yet, but I definitely will. It's just a really simple plugin with high quality sub basses. The reason why there isn't a lot to tweak right here is because you really don't have to tweak them. They're just perfect sub basses that you could just put in your track, maybe add a little saturation, maybe a little EQ, and you're good. Next we have XLN Audio. I actually have Addictive Drums 2. I actually prefer Superior Drummer 3 to be completely honest, but I do have a video of that coming out, but that's more for sync licensing. It is something that I probably will start covering in the future because I am getting into it myself, but that's not why I'm pointing this out. So this right here, the Addictive Keys Trio bundle, this is a great bundle for anyone that's looking for high quality keys that you can edit. So there's the Electric Grand, Mark I, Modern Upright, and the Studio Grand. So if you get the trio for 75 bucks, add on another 40 bucks, you get all four of them. However, if you are in the market for a Focusrite Scarlett, if you buy a Scarlett, you actually get one of these addictive keys for free. I personally went with the Studio Grand, and then I picked up the Trio bundle. So if you're in the market for an audio interface, that might be a route to go. But these keys just sound freaking amazing. You don't have to get Keyscape. You don't have to spend $300-400 on Keyscape. These will absolutely do the trick for you, especially after you watch the videos that I do on these series on how to edit these to really get the sound that you're looking for. Because I have not seen any videos with people covering these and really making the most out of these plugins. So that's coming real soon. Speaking of keys and not needing Keyscape, if you like Rhodes, if you like electric pianos, Lounge Lizard is all you need. 89 bucks, more than half off right now. Back when I was a Cakewalk user, I had the session version of Lounge Lizard, and it was freaking amazing. The only reason why I don't own this full version of Lounge Lizard is because I already have so many other products with keys. For example, the Arturia V collection. So I don't need Lounge Lizard, especially with the way that I tweak and edit my sounds. Like, I'm always able to get the sound that I'm looking for. However, if you don't have V Collection or you can't afford V Collection, even with the Black Friday sale, this is a great plugin to have. This is a plugin that you would start your beat with. Just some nice sounding keys, get your melody, get your chords right, and then maybe replace those sounds later on. But this is a great starting point in terms of composition and finding your ideas. Lounge Lizard does the trick for sure. And it doesn't cost $300-400. All right, now we're getting into effects. And right here, this collection of effects, these are probably the most slept on effects in all of music production, at least in the arena of beat making. You got Decimort 2, which I've already done a video, but I absolutely have to do a video on Anthrasol, Phaser Tan 2, Godfather, Godphaser, the Godfather. I keep wanting to pronounce it in every single type of way. And there's one more, and SYNTHS 2. Those plugins are just... If you've seen the Decimort video and just the quality that it brings to the table, or the quality that it takes away from the table, I should say, these other plugins just instantly give you a vintage vibe on whatever sound that you're using. I'm not saying that it sounds like you're running things through hardware, but it's just those vintage type of effects. The chorusing, the flanging, phasing, but these do it in a very unique way that's very musical and really fun to dial in. I think the reason why these are so underrated is honestly because of the look of the plugin. Like, it looks clean, it looks great, but I'm afraid that it scares people away because it looks like a piece of hardware that's really complicated to work with, and honestly it's not. So, and there's not enough tutorials covering these plugins in terms of what they do and the result that they give you. But yeah, I'm totally going to give away all that sauce here very soon, and I'm likely to do a giveaway with them as well, so definitely stay tuned for that. Now we have Ample Sound and Ample Sound's guitars. For me, no one's really going to beat Ample Sound when it comes to getting guitar sounds in your DAW without an actual guitar. And you already know, I don't own Kontakt, so I don't have all the other options that everyone else has in terms of buying a library on top of buying Kontakt. You don't have to do any of that. This is perfect right here in terms of getting guitar sounds in your DAW that actually sound authentic. So yeah, you don't need a Kontakt player for this. These are all individual plugins. I have videos on the Vintage Cherry, the Metal Hellraiser, the Semi-Hollow, the Telecaster, the Stratocaster, the Les Paul, and I have a video where I compared the Ample Guitar Taylor to the Ample Guitar Martin, the free version of the Martin. I actually have the Metal Eclipse too, but I haven't done a video on that. I will. And if you've watched my previous videos on these guitars, they're all geared towards actually using them to make beats, not to make a rock song or to make a metal song or anything. Using these various guitars to actually make beats that you would sell on like BeatStars. So type beats, basically. If you were to pick one of these guitars, I get this question all the freaking time. So people always ask me after watching all those videos, which guitar should I get to make this type of beat or that type of beat? And 9 times out of 10, the answer that I usually give them is the Fender Stratocaster. And if there is an alternative, usually I'm also telling them, hey, the Stratocaster will also work for that. So I would say the most versatile guitar that they have for making type beats is the Fender Stratocaster. I'm probably going to have to do a whole series on this guitar where I show you guys the different tones, the different sounds that you get right inside of that plugin, and then combining that with some other plugins that I have to tell you guys about in the future. No, these plugins aren't 50% off or anything like that, but you do save a little bit of money, and I could easily say that they're worth full price. So anytime you could save on something that you would be willing to pay full price on is usually a good deal. Continuing with effects, everyone is always going to mention Soundtoys, and for good reason, because the plugins work. They're really simple, they're not intimidating, and right now they're really cheap, up to 73% off for the individual plugins. But that's not what I recommend getting. I wouldn't go through and try and pick these individual plugins and buy them one at a time. However, if that is the route that you would go, I would recommend Crystallizer. Phase Mistress is pretty good. The Tremolator, everyone has Echo Boy, and last but not least, Decapitator. Even though I personally don't use Decapitator, but everyone else freaking loves that plugin. I honestly don't like it. I don't like the sound of it. It always does too much or not enough. Like, there's not like a sweet spot with that plugin for me. I actually prefer the Radiator. So I'm just being honest with you. The two most popular plugins from Soundtoys is Decapitator and Echo Boy. But I personally prefer all those other plugins compared to the Decapitator. I've literally not used it on a single sound, but that probably has more to do with the other type of saturation plugins that I have. That being said, what I actually recommend is the Soundtoys effects rack, and that's what I have. I don't have the individual plugins. I don't even have the Soundtoys 5 complete collection. I think that's really overdoing it. The effect rack gets you all the plugins. I think there's like some extra plugins that you do get with the complete collection, like Little Primal Tap, I think that's what it's called, or Little Radiator. Like, you don't get the little version in here, which why would you want the little version anyway when you get the full version in here in the rack? It actually says you get Echo Boy and Echo Boy Jr. Echo Boy Jr. is just a quicker way to dial in your delays. But yeah, you get the full version of Radiator, full version of Micro Shift. And then I think with the full bundle, you would get the little versions of that as well. So yeah, save yourself some money, $100 in fact, and get the effect rack. And this is just a great plugin to just throw on and twist some knobs and hear what happens, because a lot of times you end up with a really good result. And it's loaded with presets, usable presets. So definitely check that out. Next we have Luberator, and this is a great plugin for glitching effects, but I think a lot of people go too heavy-handed on it. Like, there's other uses for it where you could just have it subtly adding movement and odd delays and filter effects in the background underneath the sound, where it just makes the sound a little more lively, a little more interesting. But absolutely, you can use it on full blast and use it for transitions and build-ups and intros, outros. Like, this is definitely my go-to plugin for spicing things up. I definitely need to do a tutorial on it, because I think the way that I use it is very different from everyone else, and it could definitely inspire you for sure. But right now it's you get $40 off. Not a lot, but you know, it's about 33%. But it's a plugin that's absolutely worth it, especially if you're someone like me that's getting into live performance. This thing is a whole lot of fun. Now, speaking of adding movement and texture and a little something underneath your sound, here's Portal by Output. Now, I was sleeping on this plugin pretty hard. In fact, I ended up buying it and I still didn't use it for quite a few months. And I recently got into it pretty deep, and I realized the reason why I wasn't having as much fun with it was because I really needed to learn it for myself. I don't think that there's any really good tutorials on it. The ones that I've seen are very basic, and the ones that I do like, there's a lot of second guessing. Like, they don't actually know what is happening, and they just ended up with a good result. But just from what I learned from those videos and what I've done on my own, I definitely want to make my own video and help you guys out with utilizing something like Portal to really push your sounds to another level in terms of just adding something that just has a little spice or a little something that catches the ear, some ear candy. Now, speaking of ear candy and spice, right now Polyverse Music, everything is 50% off. They also have a free plugin that you can get as well, which is called Wider. It literally just makes your sound wider without causing any phasing issues. I've talked about it on the channel plenty of times. It's rare that I don't use it on something in my mix. But another plugin that I feel like is kind of underrated in the beat making community is Gatekeeper. I think a lot of EDM producers use it, and when you hear them use it, it's super heavy-handed, kind of like what I was saying with Luberator. However, there's some really cool features in here that can make it more subtle and can just add some light movement, even some light texture to your sound, especially when you use this plugin as automation for one of your effects. So for example, you might be automating something like the saturation of a sound and give it some actual rhythm to when it saturates and when it doesn't. I feel like anytime you can add some rhythm to the individual sound and not always rely on the drums, it can actually inspire you to make the rest of your beat before you even add your drums. Like if your sound already has some rhythm to it, that's something to go off of. You could syncopate with it, change your melodies around in terms of the timing of your melodies. It all inspires the rest of what you do, even your drums after that. So I definitely have a Gatekeeper tutorial coming here soon. Now I'm going to mention this plugin just because it was so popular a couple years ago. I feel like it's sort of lost steam in terms of how often it's used in the community, and for a good reason, because there's a lot of other plugins out there that basically do the same thing but with a different flavor. And over time I've actually found myself not really using RC20 as often as some of the other plugins that are on this list. However, if you do want the go-to, the plugin that everyone else was using, perhaps still are using, especially if you are making lo-fi music or dark trap or just wanting to add that vintage vibe in general to your tracks, right now you could save 50 bucks and get it for 49 bucks. So definitely watch some videos on it, listen to the sound. However, this plugin right here is actually what I prefer over RC20. Usually when I pull out a plugin like RC20, it's because I'm trying to get that vintage sound, but I'm looking for a very particular type of vintage sound, and this really does it. It's called Cassette by Waves Factory, and it's interesting because they call it a saturation plugin, and that's basically all I'm really looking for. I'm not really looking for delay and reverbs. All that's included in RC20. However, I want to just get down to the warmth, the saturation, the vintage part itself. There's nothing really vintage about adding reverb to a sound. You could have a vintage reverb, but which I do have. I have plenty of vintage reverbs, including the one from Valhalla. But this doesn't do any of that. This just focuses on the noise, the static, artifacts, the warmth of the sound, how much you could drive the sound with this input knob. And then you have various flavors with Pro, Home, and Micro. And then each of those categories has individual tapes that change the flavor within each category. So there's a lot that you could do with this plugin in terms of really dialing in a certain tone for your sound. And I just find this to be much more useful than RC20. I see RC20 as more of a multi-effect, while Cassette is literally just an effect that makes it sound like it was recorded on a cassette. And this is 39 bucks, so 10 bucks cheaper than RC20. However, but wait. Here's another option, and a great one, especially if you're just looking to dial in that vintage sound. Bad Tape is only 15 bucks, and its normal price is the sale price of Cassette. So I think you see the trend here. I was quite taken back listening to just the demos of this because it just nails the sound perfectly. Sounds like Bad Tape. And then when I finally bought it for 15 bucks, I found that I was able to quickly dial in the settings. This is just a really nice saturation unit that gives you that vintage feel right off the bat. If you own any Izotope product, you can get the Music Production Suite 4.1 for $299, and normally it's 800 bucks. This might be a little overboard for you, so I have some other options, but this actually will come with Neoverb, which is a really fun reverb. It dials in your sound like right away. I'll definitely do a tutorial on that. I was supposed to do a tutorial on that last year, actually. That's kind of embarrassing. But I do have a tutorial on that coming for sure. Nectar 3 Plus, which is the flagship version of their vocal processor. RX9, which is their audio restoration plugin. Stutter Edit 2, which is a glitching plugin. Ozone 9 Advanced, which is their flagship mastering plugin. And then some additional plugins that I'm not going to talk about because I would never use. And you also get Neutron 3 Advanced, which is their flagship mixing plugin. Also comes with Vocal Synth 2, which is a vocal synthesizer. Insight 2, which is an analyzing plugin. Total Balance Control 2. This allows you to match up your audio with other popular music or other styles of music, I should say. You could see the curve of modern music, this line is where you're sitting at. So right here, it looks like they achieved a pretty nice balance for their master. So yeah, basically every flagship plugin that Izotope makes, you can get for $300 if you owned any Izotope plugin in the past. So say you don't own any Izotope products. For the same price, $299, you don't have to own a previous paid Izotope product. You just get all of this for $299. You're gonna save $400 and that'll get you Ozone 9 Advanced, Neutron 3 Advanced, Nectar 3 Plus, and of course it comes with the tonal balance plugin as well. But we could go even cheaper. $149 and you get the Holiday Bundle Diamond Edition. That comes with Nectar 3 Plus, Ozone 9 Standard. The only difference is Ozone 9 Advanced has some advanced features like codec previewing, which you don't need. It has a bunch of stuff that you don't necessarily need, especially if all you're doing is just making beats. Neutron 3 Standard, and it comes with Trash 2, which is a multi-band distortion unit, along with a couple expansions. They also throw in Iris 2, which is honestly a trash synth, in my personal opinion. I've given it a shot a couple times. It's heavy on CPU, comes with some really poorly made samples. I have never been able to get a sound out of it that was inspiring or that I liked. And I think that's why all year round they try and give it away and it's always like $10. Break Tweaker, this is a drum glitching program. Neoverb, I already told you about that. Even cheaper, the Holiday Platinum Edition. So already you're getting Ozone 9 Standard for half the price, I believe. Neutron 3 Standard, Trash 2, Iris, Break Tweaker, Stutter Edit, Phoenix Verb, R2 Stereo, and Excalibur, RX Elements, and Nectar Elements. Even cheaper, $49, the Holiday Bundle Gold Edition. So in here you get Trash 2, Iris 2, Phoenix Verb, R2 Stereo, Excalibur, Break Tweaker, Stutter Edit 2, and then all of the Izotope Elements suite. So Ozone Elements, Neutron Elements, RX Elements, and Nectar Elements. Just getting the final loudness for your master, Ozone Elements is good enough. It really is. I was using Ozone Elements for a solid year before I got the Tonal Balance Bundle. Neutron Elements, great for dialing in your mix on individual track. This is plenty. For $50, that will be plenty good enough for sure. I feel like the best deal, the most bang for your buck out of all those would be the Platinum Edition for $100. That way you do future-proof yourself a little bit. You have the standard edition of main plugins that you would actually use. And then in the future, if you ever want to upgrade to the advanced version, you'll get a pretty nice discount upgrading from the standard version versus upgrading from an Elements version. Okay, let's round it off. Last but not least, Sonarworks. So this is a company that I just got in contact with recently. If you can't tell, if you guys have watched my channel before, I'm in a brand new place. I completely redid my studio, still am redoing my studio. I'm about to get some bass traps, monitors. These are some new headphones. I have a new camera, new microphone on the way. I got some lighting. But that being said, with the new monitors that I have coming and this room that I'm in, you can tell that it's completely untreated. I reached out to Sonarworks and I asked them about their headphone referencing and their speaker referencing programs. And right now, that's actually what I'm using on these headphones right now. In the future, you probably won't see me using these headphones too much. I'm not entirely sure, but right now I'm using the heck out of them because I'm trying to get used to the flat frequency response that I'm now getting. And it is a world of difference for sure. It's not just changing how I mix, but it's also changing how I sound design. So that's something that I didn't even think about originally when I first thought about getting the Sound ID reference for headphones. Well, headphones and speakers, because I am getting the speaker. So I do plan on buying this microphone. The microphone's $69. I'm gonna use that to get the impulse response of this entire room whenever I get my speakers. And then based off of that information, Sonarworks will be able to send me a calibration profile that matches with my particular speakers in my room. So I'm really excited about that. But for everyone else, if you are making beats and you're using headphones, I can already tell you right now, I already demoed this way back in the day, and I was really, really surprised how much of a difference it made with my mixes, and my mixes being able to translate However, eventually I did get used to my Sony NDR 7506s. These right here. I do have a tutorial comparing these to my DT 770 Pros 80 ohms. That tutorial should be coming out pretty soon. But in the meantime, for anyone else that is looking to make beats and mix in headphones because of neighbors or whatnot, I definitely recommend checking this out just until you do eventually upgrade to your studio monitors or get a nice high quality monitoring system. But these are normally $100. You could get the Sound ID reference for headphones for just $59 right now. So you save $40. It'll have your actual frequency response of whatever headphones or speakers you're using, and then it will calibrate with a reverse EQ curve of that frequency response, and that should leave you with theoretically a flat curve. Now again, you still have to account for psychoacoustics, the fact that you're listening on headphones at all. Over time, you get used to what that even translates to in terms of your panning and your stereo field. But this part right here, where you're actually getting a balanced level, this will keep you from overhyping your highs, adding too much bass, not having enough bass. This will help you translate to more systems more evenly. And that's what I'm using it for right now. So yeah, that rounds out all of the Black Friday deals that I found for music producers in 2021 that are planning on continuing to make music in 2022. Definitely check out the plugins down below in the description. Again, I do have links to tutorial videos for the plugins that I have covered in the past. I do get a little bit of kickback if you do use any of my links. I do appreciate that for sure. It's great to be back to YouTube, and I look forward to making more videos for you guys. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.